let's go ahead and get started. It is 3 o'clock. Lisa, I really, really, once again, appreciate you being here today. I appreciate the effort that you put into making this happen
Thank you
because,
for asking me. Thank you all for your patience.
oh yes, oh yeah, definitely, definitely, without a doubt. And, I could go through this long litany of your career and your accomplishments and your, everything that you've accomplished before today, but that's boring.
Yes, it is. It's old news.
Come on. How about if you just share with the group, just give them a little bit idea of who you are.
Well, Lisa Mattingly here. I refereed for approximately 30 something years. The start date is unknown, really, as I didn't think I'd be doing it this long. I thought I was just making $12 a game cash on a Saturday for beer
Mhm.
money,
Come
uh,
on.
and it developed into something different. So, 30 years or so in. I'm 8 years into this coordinating gig. This will be my eighth year, which is hard to believe. My last game was in April of 2018. And I miss it every day.
Come
I
on.
would I would say, what did you learn, Lisa? Well, I would have never taken the whistle off when I did. If but these positions don't come available, but once a decade or so. So it's really where I feel like I can have the biggest impact. But I kick myself daily. I'd give anything to be. I wouldn't want to be starting out, but
Mm,
I wouldn't mind just somebody telling me where to go, what assignment to go to. Let me put it that way.
right.
People tell me where to go all the time, but and then just go and do my game, work hard, and keep my. All I had was responsible for was taking care of that game and my health and well-being that night. So.
Yes, yes.
But I love it. I've found something to do that I love so much that I haven't worked a day in the last 30 something years.
Come on. Come on.
Yeah,
If you can make a living doing what you love, hey,
yeah,
that's living life.
yeah.
Hey, you know what? If you and you just touched on something, if you had to do a comparison between when you started versus now, what would be the biggest difference, from your perspective as far as being if you were a young official getting that opportunity for the first time, what would be the biggest overall difference that between now and then?
Okay. Uh, Great question. Yeah, I think then very few of us, me especially, knew nothing about it being a business, knew
Right.
nothing about it being a career, didn't think about it at that time. And now, where you all are, many of you all are, it is already laid out there that this is a career path that you could go down. And for
Right.
when I started, it was like, hell, I thought somebody knocked on my door and figured out that I could referee, and I didn't know about camp. I finally went to camps and things like that. But I got started like kind of late compared to some of the folks now. I mean, it was my late 20s
Hmm.
probably. But yeah, I would say that's it, that this can be a career path now, and we have a lot of people that are doing this solely. They've kind of put their degree job aside and they are making that work. So there's a
Right.
with that comes sacrifice, that's for sure.
Yep, that is true.
Hmm.
And that is true about any journey. You have to understand what that sacrifice might be. And it is. This is just a different reality now versus back then.
Hmm.
It is. Then you know what? There's access to more information and opportunity, but not saying that all that information is necessarily good for you.
It's
Uh,
not. And, we have some folks that, you know, they aren't, we always say trust the process. Everybody's heard
mhm.
that a million times, but, we've got some folks that feel like after they've been in a couple of years that, and there's a lot more scrutiny. There's a lot more eyes on what we're doing now.
Yes.
The money's getting better everywhere and all the way around. But, sometimes you still want to make sure you're trusting the process and, there is a plan. And I experience it with several of our officials, some of the folks I see on this call. Some of our mid-major leagues are like starter leagues. They're just stuff
Right.
to get going and give you confidence and find a way to put you in not only in games, but then in conference games and maybe in leadership positions. And then, a lot of times because you do show an acumen for officiating, you get scooped up in some of these bigger leagues. but you're not getting the kind of grassroots kind of work that gives you
Right.
the reps that you need sometimes. So I just want to tell everybody to, trust your process. And, I know there's a lot of people and a lot of things coming at you, but find your one or two people that, it's your ride or die. It's
Come
some
on.
people that you want people that are going to be honest with you, whether it's good or bad. You can't always have somebody that's pumping sunshine up your skirt. And just make sure you're, giving yourself a break too. You got to give yourself a little grace from time to time. So just trust in the process. Don't push yourself too fast because trust me, you don't want to be in a position that you don't need at that point because it's
You
many people want to have the LSU Texas game until you get there. And then it's like, oh, give me Southeast Missouri State versus so and so.
Yes.
Nobody's watching today. Trust me, somebody's watching every day, but you just want to make sure that you're not always in the glare of the spotlight trying to learn and grow because that's hard. So,
Right, right, right. And none of us wants to be in a position to be and have that opportunity before we're prepared for it, before we're ready for it.
mhm.
Let's do our best to be ready for it before we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's roll into our first. Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate your response. Let's roll into our first question. Tanner, do you have a question for Lisa today?
Yes, I do.
Hey, Tanner.
Hey, so you kind of touched on it a little bit already, but my question is, what common mistakes do you see from officials who are trying to break into Division One or progress into Division One, if they're already kind of entered into it?
What conversations?
Just mistakes that they could make. I mean,
Well, just, not you take the games as they come. So it's not your fault when somebody gives you a game or doesn't give you a game, right? You can only do the games that you're given, make the best use of the on court time that you can. If somebody puts you in a game that may be a little above your pay grade at this time, you just going to go out there and kick butt. And I always told people that I was lucky that I didn't bump my head in some situations, and I had good people around me. So and just be patient. I would just always encourage people to be patient. I have some folks, you being one of them, that we got big plans for and that kind of thing. But you don't come in and you don't get the whole ball of wax all at one time. And there's a thing called credibility. There's a thing called our coaches have got to buy into you. But I've got to give you that opportunity as a Division I coordinator. I've got to be able to put you out there and put you in positions to succeed. That means good people. That means strong people. That means somebody that may not look as good as you do, but they got all the other tools. They've got the credibility and the history and those kind of things. So I would just continue to say, don't rush yourself, find a path. And I know there's a lot of things coming at you all now. There's a priority list once you get hired, and there's this and that. Try not to get bogged down in all that. And, just find you that one person, two people that you trust that have your best interest at heart. I'm always an open book. I always try to tell everybody, hey, this is what I'm thinking. It's just not going to happen overnight. And sometimes I move too slowly. Sometimes it happens that
Mm,
something bigger happens for you before I can get you to where I want you to be, which is, I always get people in conferences and then I want to get them into conference games, leadership roles, and postseason play. So that's kind of my plan for people. And it doesn't happen on your first year, maybe not even your fifth year. But, and getting picked up in this league or that is great. But uh, somebody said something the other day, I think it was Tony Brothers, we were chatting, and he said, we've got a lot of officials that are in acquisition mode. I look down through there and I see all these people that have 13 or 14 Division One. My hair's weird. Sorry. I'm looking at myself backwards. Sorry. But that they are in acquisition mode and they just want to be on a staff. I'm in the staff. Let me tell you, if you don't work more than, if you don't work 8, 10, if you don't work more than 25 games in Division One, you're not a Division One referee yet.
there it is. There it is. Real talk.
If most of your games are in D2 or D3, then that's the official you are, and that's great.
Yes.
I didn't have that opportunity in Kentucky. We didn't have a lot of D2. We had a lot of NAIA. But I would just say, find you need to have a plan for yourself, but also find somebody that I always try to tell people what I have, the plan I have for them, what I see down the road. Doesn't mean you can't change it because others hire you. And I'd love to keep a bunch of you under a little bush, under a little bushel, so I could hide you for just a little while longer. But that's impossible. And I want you to get out and be as successful as possible. But just don't rush the process is what the best advice I could ever give. And because once you get up there at the top, it could be a quick trip down. You'd like
That's
this
right.
to be a steady climb. You don't want to get there and then be in the wrong spot and have all the branches fall out from under you. So take the climb, take the good, and stuff, and just keep putting in the time.
Oh, that's great. Great answer, Lisa. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, right. I mean, we should all do our best to maintain a career mindset versus what we want right now.
Yeah.
And we should try to progress accordingly. All right, let's see. Leanne Stevenson, do you have a question for Lisa?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Lisa?
Hey, Leanne.
Hi. I probably had a question, but I think I deviated based on something you said. Um, in speaking of the priority list
Mm-hmm.
and kind of how convoluted and challenging that can be, especially when you have officials, like myself, like you said, with Tanner, just getting started in Division One. What is that supposed to, or what should that look like from your perspective, or even, your advice? I work in some of your leagues, may not work as much in other leagues, and may have some new opportunities in some upcoming leagues. Like what should that look like? What would be your advice for new officials coming up?
Right. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to take my coordinator hat off on that one because I shouldn't be speaking from the coordinator position on that. But because I try not to give people advice as a coordinator. My advice to you as an official is like, I would all if you, let's just say me, let's just use me. Hey, I've been working for Lisa for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. I'm going to reach out to if I decide I'm going to make a big move in my priority list, I'm going to reach out to Lisa and I'm going to say, hey, here's what I'm thinking. I got this opportunity. Hey, I got picked up in the American. Hey, I got picked up in the blah blah blah, or I got picked up in the WAC or something like that. And I would say, hey, that's great. Go ahead and put that as your priority because it's a bigger check for sure. Or I might say, hey, you've been working, 12 and 15 or 18 games, or hey, give me another year here or something. I'd let you know. I wouldn't try to talk you out of it. I would just say, here's the benefits of that. And getting, I was always the kind of person that wanted to get more games where I was before I started seeking other things. So that was what
Mm.
Lisa did as an official, right? I can remember I was in the WNBA. Yeah, I was in the WNBA and wasn't in the ACC yet. And I said something to somebody, one of my mentors. I said, hey, should I apply to the ACC? And she's like, no, let them come after you. And I did. I didn't need to rush it. I mean, you just do your work and you be seen. But now, if you feel like you're being taken for granted, or you feel like you have no upside, or whatever, then it's a business, Leanne. But there are sometimes, we've got 400 people on staff in our consortium, and so sometimes, the plan takes a little bit longer sometimes to get meaningful
Right.
games. Or, I will tell you that I made a personal change this year in the way I assign some of you all as I've talked to more of you or will be assigning. Um, I always try to keep a bunch of people geographically located because the money and, what the cost of this and that and blah, blah, blah. Well, many of you all have said, I'll go anywhere. I don't care what the pay is. I just need to get on the court. So I'm going to see if y'all really meant that because some of you will see that there's some things that, you might stay close to home on some, but I just can't possibly get you enough games that way. As you can see, if I can't mix it up and send you to Louisiana or send you to Arkansas or something like that. So from, without the coordinator hat on, that's what I would say. So as an official, I would always I'm a loyal person. So I would just always say that before I made a big jump to somebody that I just met or somebody that just came along late in my career, I would want to have that conversation with who I've been rolling with for a while and see if there's a bigger plan for me. That's what I would,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, great advice. Yes. Leanne, does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lynn.
Excellent, excellent. All right, hey, so let's roll out to the state of Colorado. How about we do that? Faye, do you have a question for Lisa?
Hi, y'all.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Sorry to hear about your mother. I hope everything's good with her.
She's 90 and we just had her birthday this past weekend. So she's yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, she's gonna probably outlive me is the thing.
I want to start off by saying thank you for that response. I appreciate your perspective on that last response. So yeah.
Good.
Um, I would like your perspective as an official who has shown commitment on and off the court and has followed through on responsibilities. Um, when do when when do they get a return on their investment, i.e. more games, and or what is your suggestion to get to that next step, if any?
Yeah, that's a good question. Your situation being, a real outlier in the geographic space for us until this past year, uh, where I'm moving people around more. It's just you got one of the first questions that when I was officiating still, and I would be at camp, like I would be teaching at camp, let's say, and an official would come to me and say, "Hey, I'd really like to work for Lisa," or blah blah, or "I'd like to work for Patty," or "I'd like to work for Violet," or whatever it is. And my first question then was always, "Why aren't you working for the people that are in your neck of the woods?" That's always a question. That was always one of the first things I would ask them. Hey, how come you're not working for so and so that's out there? Hey, how come you're not working for so and so? So I would always put that out there to you. And then sometimes it's just getting that first opportunity. Again, a lot of that's on me. I know, we have. There's a lot of things that I know that you don't know. Nothing of any that I can make any money on. But the fact of the matter is that what we need and where we're coming from sometimes does make a difference to some. But I'm going to work harder this year for everybody. And here's the thing. Here's what's not fair that I know that I have been guilty of is like getting people on staff, right? And then not getting them in games. And I think we're all guilty of that. I know Patty and Debbie and I talk about that some. It's not getting them in games. Um, so it has to be more on me to get some of those opportunities. And if not, I need to let you go. And I don't mean you specifically, but people like that we just keep people on staff and we keep them for 1 or 2 games a year or whatever. And that's not helping you grow. That's not giving you a firm foundation in the game at all. So one of two things has to happen. I either gotta poop or get off the pot, right? So I gotta give you more games. That's the only way you get better, or I gotta let you go. So no, that's probably not all you want to hear, but I'm hopefully going to get a few more opportunities coming your way.
No, I appreciate that. And thank you for that tidbit because it's not only from your perspective. I just think like the other coordinators, right? So I appreciate that. Thank
You're welcome.
All right, good question, Faye. Thank you, Lisa.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go back to the state of Texas. How about that? Rosa Rodriguez. Hold on a second. Rosa, are you stationary or are you driving?
No, I'm stationary.
Okay, that's the first question. All right, Rosa, do you have a question for Lisa?
I do. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Rosa.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about, officials being criticized by coaches, on national TV? And what would your advice for them be to not, get down or change how they're working?
Yeah. Well, certainly we've got a lot of practice at that, haven't we? Most recently in the WNBA, I've experienced it as an official and as a coordinator. There's things that have been coming up about uh, disciplinary action has been talked about. In the pros, they have a fining system. For us, coaches want a pound of flesh. They are not what am I trying? They're not objective. They are biased observers. They will always want what they want when they want it. They think we're too picky when we're calling against their team, but we're not picky enough when it's the other team and it's the exact same play. I have many, many examples of that. So I would just say to you that I had a game. Uh, I've had a few situations. First of all, if you're working, you are going to be criticized. That's just the nature of the beast that where we are. Whether you're in your CYO leagues or you're in the highest level in Division One, and the people that you look at the people in the Final Four in the women's game the last few years, and it's all over some things that are called correctly. So, I mean, and the talking heads can say whatever they want. They can get up there and say something is this or that, and they're completely wrong. And I'm going to roll on here for a minute. Bear with me. I am going to answer your question. But all of our conferences too they've all been talking about, officials really want conferences to come out and issue a statement to say when we're right. Okay. Just like in the game, that WNBA game yesterday or day before, which the referees association did come out and say that that was a correct no call. Okay. Well, what I hear from my conferences is if we are going to say when you are right, we will also have to issue a statement to say when you are wrong and you screw it up. Because we do. You just can't help it. It happens. And the other piece of that is, we're human. We're going to miss things. We're going to have incorrect calls, but we are way better than they think we are, but we're not as good as we think we are. There's many days where, oh yeah, I did a great job on that play. Well, when you get done patting yourself on the back, let's talk about a handful of plays here.
Right.
But you got to know when to do that. So years ago, I was in the WNBA. I'll give you one of my personal painful experiences. I was in the WNBA and I was officiating I guess it was the third game of the San Antonio Silver Stars and Phoenix Mercury. Becky Hampton was playing for San Antonio. Cappy Pondexter was playing for Phoenix. We had a great game. It's a 105-105 tie with about, I don't know, under 10 seconds to go in the game. The winner is going to go next to Detroit, I think was the way it was. I can't remember. But so anyway, I'm 90 something feet from the basket. Cappy Pondexter has the ball, and I forgot who I called the foul on, but it was San Antonio. I call a tripping foul 94 feet from the basket. Clock goes to 0. So we're in the penalty, and we're going to go shoot free throws. And I can remember going over there to the monitor with Bob Trammell, and I said, I pray that the horn went off before I blew the whistle. And he said, oh, it didn't. We get over there, and is it a foul? Not. I don't even know if it was a foul in the first minute, to be honest. I mean, we were big on tripping at that time. If the players don't go down by themselves, that kind of thing. Maybe that was in my head. Maybe I was too close to the play. I don't know what it was. So anyway, we had to put time on the clock. Cappy shoots 2 free throws. They win the game. Well, now, I'm coming off the floor. I mean, I was in a heap. I was in tears. I was with Denise Brooks and Bob Trammell. Dee Cantner, our coordinator at that time, was there. She comes in, and I mean, I put her in a terrible position. That game should have gone to overtime. Now, San Antonio may have still lost, but Dan Hughes, who was the coach of San Antonio, hasn't spoken to me. Well, he did spoke to me about 2 years ago for the first time. This was like 2005. No, I don't know, early 2000s. Becky Hammond hadn't spoken to me since. So, I never got an opportunity to apologize. But my thought on that is, I went home. I mean, I cried all night. I didn't sleep. It hit me hard. It was just, I don't know. It was just a very bad experience. So, I mean, I didn't have social media, thank God. I didn't turn a TV on. I heard from friends. I heard from Doris Burke, who was with doing women's basketball at that time. One of my favorite emails, she said, "This does not define you, blah, blah, blah." Well, oh my God, for 2 or 3 weeks, I just did not want to. I don't want to talk basketball. I had a 2 or 3-year-old at that time, and so she didn't care if I screwed a call up. So I spent a lot of time with her. at that time. But what I'm telling you is you cannot let it eat you up. I mean, it got me really, really down for about 2 weeks. My name was mud everywhere. But the good news was I went on to the next round in the WNBA playoffs. I was scheduled to work the last game of the finals, and I only worked like the first game of the finals that year because I've been working the last game the last several years. And I can remember Dee walking in going, this is your last game, right? It's like they're not going to keep me out because I'm a good official. But that game, they had to give an ounce or a pound of flesh. But I would just say you do get through it. I know I'm dancing around it here, but if you haven't refereed, if you haven't had anything bad happen to you yet, then you're not working, and you're not out there in the trenches just yet, right? Make sure that you just keep a good group around you, keep a good mindset, a healthy sense of self-esteem, know when to put the whip down when something has happened. Because look, we're all our own worst enemies when it comes to any of this. And if you're not, then you're not like any other referee I know. But just you got to learn to grow from it. You got to own it. You can't act like it didn't happen. You can't act like I didn't do it. Hey, I messed, and then you just have to move on. You do, but because as a referee, if the more you think about yesterday, you're not going to be able to keep reffing. It's going to just crush you. So the ones that do it the best are the ones, Rosa, that come back and they go, you know what, you all, I screwed the heck out of that. And, I'm going to grow from it. Now, Becky Hammond's never going to speak to me again, but it's okay. It's okay. I have reconciled myself with it. I've peeved off a lot more people since her. So there's really so many out there.
You know what, Lisa? I love oh, Rosa, did I ask you a question?
Yes, it was great. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Rosa.
Yes, thank you for sharing. I really love the email that Doris sent to you because she was spot on, and that's just true.
Yeah, I got a whole different respect for her after that because she could be hard on officials.
Yes.
And she said, Lisa, it's going to happen.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That is really good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Let's see. Riley, Riley, are you prepared with your question for Lisa?
I am. So you've kind of talked.
Riley Houghton from Arkansas?
Yeah.
Wow.
Back in the woods. No, this is probably one of the most basic questions you get, but just someone who is new on your staff will what is your requirement for us on and off the floor? Just
Yeah, like you mean physically or
well, physically I know you want us in shape, looking
Yeah.
the part, showing up wearing good clothes when we come to the gym and not sweatpants or joggers or leggings of
like
anything
you
of
want
that.
to work and you want to be there. That's right.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, and we'll talk about some of these. Actually, we're having a business meeting Zoom here after a while with our consortium. But I always tell people, you're on a job interview every time you walk through a school door, when you get out in the parking lot, when you go in the grocery store, when you're at a restaurant, all that kind of stuff. So I just always tell people, behave in a manner in which would be proud of. It does, and then I will be, right? And you don't have to please me, but we're professionals now. This is, like I said, this is more than just an avocation. More people have more eyes on more of you, and trust me, they know. I would limit my social media, uh, what you post. I can't tell you not to use it because we use it some with, our officiating too, to post good and positive things and vibes. But just be careful, and that's another thing, going back to Rose's question, is stay off social media if something bad happens to you in a game. Stay off social media and don't gang up if you're not the one it happened to, but you want to comment on it. People, let me tell you, we sure don't need to gang up on each other. There's plenty of people to do that. So take it and learn from it. I love learning from other people's mistakes. But don't gang up on each other because it's a tough enough business as it is. But Riley, just looking professional. When you go in, like we're up for the task of whatever that game's going to present to us. making sure we're speaking well when we talk to a coach and we're not blowing them off. I can't tell you how many comments I get from coaches that are, oh, rolled their eyes at me, or he, acted like he didn't have time for me, or blah, 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 blah. Now, I know that they lie. Coaches lie. Or they stretch the truth. And I know that. So I don't always believe verbatim everything they say, but just, as we always say, you cannot misquote silence. But don't be silent to a point where they think you don't know anything. Don't be silent to a point where it looks like you're standoffish. We want to make sure, hey, coach, that's a great point. Or hey, what? I know you look like you look like you have a question. Because I do believe in answering statements. I'm not one of those people that says we don't answer statements, because the statements lead to some other things. Hey, coach, you look like, I don't know, you look like you didn't agree with that last call I just had. What's going on? Or, however you open it up. And everybody's got a different way. What I can say, you can't say, and what you have, what relationships you have, I don't have. So, but I would tell you that one of the biggest things that I hear from coaches, and that's Debbie, Patty, Violet, we all hear communication, accountability, where's the transparency? Those three words are the bane of my existence. And it means something different to everybody. It shouldn't, but it does. Like they want you all to be drawn and quartered in the public square for missing trout.
Right.
They want accountability. And I'm going, in real time, you all are watching it in slow motion, right? We don't referee that way. So there's a lot more times that that we are in your corner, and like I said, making that whole communication piece, Riley, be a part of your wardrobe. Making that be a part of, I got to watch my face. I always had to watch my facial expressions, because I could look at you like you were the most stupid thing in the world and never say a word, but it came across in a very bad way. So I had to work on that. Like the things, if that little thing popped up over my head, what I was thinking about you right now, not you specifically, but if that did, I'd be in trouble. Sometimes, I'm just, I would, my shoulders would slump, or, if I didn't agree with a partner's call or something. So just make sure you're always a good partner, all that stuff is stuff that I love, and just owning things. Hey, Lisa, I said this to this coach. She may call. I don't know. But don't hope I don't hear about it, because as soon as you do that, then I hear about it. Right?
There it is.
So,
There it is. Yes. Riley, really good question. Really good question. Thank you. All right, let's roll into a new inhabitant of Texas. How about Isis Lane? Do you have a question for Lisa?
I do. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hey, Isis.
Good. Hi. We haven't met yet, but I'm looking forward to us meeting.
Me too.
Perfect. Well, so I'm going into my third year of officiating, so that's kind of some context for my question. Well, I have two questions actually, but the first one I wanted to follow up on your opening statement. When you touched on the business/career side of officiating, what are some things that you wish you knew earlier, or some things that like you found to be like things you needed to know and you didn't when you started?
uh, I might have been nicer to coaches. I was always nice to them, but I might have been nicer to. I think probably one of the biggest things for me starting out, and people, they don't mind telling me about it. They called me the big B word as a partner, BITCH. That because I was business. I'm all business out on the court. I don't want let's don't laugh at the wrong time. Let's don't go, something's going sideways. I don't want it to look like we're this or that. And we go off the court. It's business. We're talking this, and this. So I would say I wish very early on. I learned. It didn't take me very long, but I had a lot of good people take me under their wings. And they would tell me honestly that you are really messing this up. So, I learned how to temper my I am a confident person, but I try not to be too arrogant. I try not to be arrogant. I have good self-esteem, but I try not to let that come across. So I would say not to be mean. I'd look at a young official and I go, you should have passed on that. And instead of going, hey, tell me what you saw, which is code for, I didn't think it was a very good call. Uh, but so I wish that very early on I'd done a few of those things differently. So that'd be a little something. Oh, and I wish I did do a pretty good job of this. Start paying yourself when you start making a little bit more money, making sure you're figuring out that whole financial piece of it, and making the best of get you a good tax person. Uh, you know, plan, don't just blow that money you're making, that extra whatever it is, start finding a way to put it aside. And it's incredible how that all played out for me. So
Thanks. I really appreciate that. My second question was something you touched on also, uh, talking more about where we're located. So I live in Houston right now, but I do work remotely, and I have recently decided that this is something that I want to pursue as a career. Are there any places where you'd say would be best to be as someone who's just getting started and trying to get their foot in the door?
Arkansas. No, I'm just kidding. We need officials all over the place, but you're in a great location for a big airport. You got two airports, so that's nice. And as long as you don't mind, leaving home on an airplane and maybe not making, coming home with 100% of your earnings, because you do have to suffer for your art a little bit. We try not to make you go in your pocket too much. But Houston's a great place. I mean, there's lots of basketball down there. Obviously, you work for Tony or Jennifer. You work for Jennifer White yet?
I work with Tony right now.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's lots of basketball down there. So I would say that's a good place right there. You don't have to I don't think you'd have to move from there. I try not to encourage people to do that anyway. Um, Used to not do it at all on the women's side, but then, people are like going, "Hey, I'm moving to Nashville. Hey, I'm moving to Atlanta." Well, I mean, that's fine, but there's a lot of officials in Atlanta, lots and lots and lots. But Houston is just fine. You can stay right there where you are.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Huh?
All right, thank you, Isis. I appreciate that. All right, let's stay in the state of Texas. Ian, do you have a question for Lisa?
I do.
Hey,
Good
Ian,
again, Lisa. How are you doing?
how are you?
Doing well. My question for you. So I have watched countless SWAC and Southland games the past couple of years, and in those rivalry games, conference tournament games, I see a lot of the same names like Travis, Demoya, Cheney, um, Kylie, Adrian.
Yep.
I see them a lot in those either rivalry games or those conference semifinal or final games. So my question to you is, what specific qualities are they demonstrating that have earned your trust for those type of assignments?
Yeah. They will run the game. I know there's no moment that's too big for them. They don't go in there and get, their eyes get this big around when something starts hitting the fan. I trust them. I trust that they are, always going to be, they're not always going to be right because none of us are, but they I trust how they're going to run the game. Kylie, no nonsense, got a little bit of humor, a sense of humor. She's very self-deprecating, so but she will not let a game go to heck in a handbasket. Same thing with Travis. Travis is similar, and Demoya. Demoya is she knows how to articulate to coaches and things like that, and she's building up a trust system or a trust factor with them. So I would just say building up credibility. Of course, all of those are A4 officials. Travis, Demoya, Kylie. They're all SEC or Big 10, Big 12 officials. So they have other feathers in their cap, I guess, sometimes. And honestly, in the SWAC, That's a tough league. It's a very tough league. We have, a lot of those kids, well, it's not just the SWAC, so that's unfair. But with all the portal and jumping team to team within your same conference and stuff, I mean, that's happening in all the leagues. Sometimes that happens very frequently in that league. So people have to know how to take care of and know how tempers and tensions run sometimes. So I trust all of that group you just mentioned. Cheney is retiring, by the way, so we won't have Cheney this year.
Wow.
She's a great partner too. Great with the rules. Great partner. Great mentor for our young officials.
Good. Ian, does that answer your question?
That does. Thanks. Because I saw typically I see those names on those rivalry games and the conferences. So that answered it. I appreciate it, Lisa. Thank you.
You're welcome. They probably wish that somebody else would start stepping up so they don't have to work.
That's real talk.
So come on, is what they're saying.
Come on,
Yeah,
exactly.
Get busy.
All right, that's good. All right, let's try to get one more question in. Amy Stevens. Amy, how are you?
I am fantastic. Hi, Lisa.
Hey,
How are you?
good. How are you doing?
Good. Good. Hey, my question is, what are one or two things you wish officials understood about your role as an assigner?
Whoo-wee.
Maybe one or two.
Am I
Maybe
starting alphabetically or worse? I do wish that, I guess one of the things that I would say is no one is out of the line of fire with a coach. So, one of the, I'll give you a little context. So when I got this job, I didn't want to see any game reports from any of our SEC coaches except the ones about me. So I didn't read any other game report. So I realized once I got this job of the ones that I thought I had a good relationship that I didn't. And one of the things I wish officials would understand that, they're like, oh, I got a great relationship with Don Staley. No, you don't. What's she gonna do? Cuss you out when you get there? Because she needs some calls. And I'm just picking on Dawn, but it could be Kim Mulkey or it could be Vic Schaefer, who likes no one. So I would say a healthy sense of realism would be nice. Sometimes one of my favorite movies is Bull Durham, and Susan Sarandon in that, she's always kind of waxing poetic about things. And she said, most people are not cursed with self-awareness. They do not understand that I can, my mother always told me I could make the good Lord herself mad, but some of these people are the same way. They don't realize and they don't pick up on some of those cues. So I would say that first and foremost, that your relationship with some of these coaches just needs to be all business. You need to go in with it that way and not get your feelings hurt. Another thing I would say is that the number of things going on in a given day. Sometimes I answer every call. So I usually answer it. I don't put people at a voicemail most of the time. Most of the time I just go, let's get this off the table. But trying to, people want to know why you're not getting games. I said, do you call me when you get games and ask me why did I get this great game? No. I would say that's one thing, but I think too, they also just sometimes do not understand what some of the requirements are for some of the games. These tough games, in the fishbowl games. I mean, they're all tough. There's not a game out there. That's the minute you start treating one game like the big marquee game, and then you go down and you go back and like you work LSU, Texas, and then the next day, let's say you're doing Florida and Auburn, which is two of our, they're not in the top half of the league. Let me put it that way. That they know when you treat them differently. They know you're coming in there with not the same enthusiasm. And I would say that Florida Auburn game is harder than the LSU Texas game because it might get them to the 8th seed or the 7th seed instead of the 14th seed or the 16th seed. So those games are a little tougher. I would just say making sure that our officials kind of understand it. What I do is not brain surgery. It's not curing cancer or, saving the world or anything. But there is a lot of conversations that go on around every game. There's hardly a game that goes by that uh, somebody doesn't send me something. So just have a little grace is what I always say with that in regards to everything we do. I have grace for you, you have grace for me, and it'd be a whole lot better.
So how do you manage like all the clips from coaches that are sent in now with the video and the social media and everybody's got a phone or an iPad or
Yes, they do.
how do you manage all that? I
Well,
mean,
I have assistants, and but I look at every video that is submitted. So I think last year on our website, which is the way on one and only way they're supposed to submit them, but I get them in text messages, I get them on YouTube, I get them, Dropbox, I get them in every form. We probably looked at, I don't know, 3 or 4 thousand clips last year, and that's just the ones that coaches send in. I mean, referees are sending them to me too. So, we I had to learn to do this, but kind of prioritize them. I look at them. I had one coach last year. His max was 10 plays, and he would send in 9 travels. Find something more pertinent. They're supposed to be pertinent plays. So, when I try to tell them what a pertinent play is, fifth foul, fourth or fifth foul on a big, uh, uh, you know, a foul that puts them in the bonus, or a foul that's the end of the game, or something like that, or a third foul in the first half. Those are pertinent plays to me. But most of our coaches just they want to do a gotcha. Every play they send in, they want to accomplish an evaluation of you rather than trying to learn why was this or why was this not called. Uh, they want to say this is an evaluation of Amy's skills because she can't call a travel. But I have to, got to kind of sort through all that, see what the big stuff really is.
so where do you see officiate the consortium? You've got these main assigners for the P4 schools and these conferences. I mean, where some of them are up there in age, maybe going to retire, and
You mean like Patty?
well, maybe.
Talking about Patty?
I mean, maybe. I mean, I say that
But
affectionately.
she's older than me.
I'm old. I'm an old person coming to the party late, so I'm just curious the future of where we're headed, especially with the WNBA and your thoughts on that. Um, I don't know if this is true or not. I heard, that the NBA kind of plucked some of the better WNBA officials on and got them moved over. Is that true? There's a lot of chitter chatter right now about WNBA officials.
There
Um,
is. Well,
there,
I think,
I
yeah.
don't know. I
I'm
see a
sorry.
lot of good officials when I watch games now.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious your thoughts on the future of officiating in women's basketball.
Well, I think we've got a great pipeline. First and foremost, a lot of people talk about not having a pipeline. We have a pipeline, and we've been developing it. Just knowing, the NCAA was there behind the curve when they thought we didn't have a pipeline. I'm just like, what do you call 400 officials? It's a pipeline. Patty's got 3 or 400. Debbie's got 3 or 400. Violet's got 2 or 300. So I would say they're all a pipeline. Plus all the NAIs that we work well with, the D2 people that we work well with, those coordinators and whatnot. We're always talking. Hey, who's the next one? How can we help this person? Can we get them on a scrimmage roster? So that would be one thing. As far as the WNBA, I can only speak to it from when I was in from now, like so many of especially our young women, not saying it's not some of our young men, but the G League and others are plucking a lot of our young women into their grassroots, their mid-level, and their elite programs, all in the hopes of putting them in the G League or the WNBA and maybe moving them on through to the NBA. I do think that there's a movement afoot and has been because we've got a lot of people that want to work the WNBA. That's their pinnacle. That's where they want to be. They want to work women's basketball, and that's where they are. Now, I think that there are some people, this is just Lisa saying this now, so this is nothing official. I would say that some of the people, when they come into the program, would never utter the words, oh no, I don't want the NBA. They're gonna, that's if that's part of the gig, that's part of the gig, right? But we've got a lot of people, Roy Gobain, Tim Green, that are Angelica Suffren, My Forsberg. There's a lot of people that are WNBA, right, and aren't going on to the NBA. So it's a lot of the veterans. So I would just say that, you know, they got to do their own thing. They have things that different that they're looking for. Sometimes it's people that don't, you know, the people that they used to pluck out people from the W all the time. Uh, and I didn't want to work in the G or D League, whatever it was called at that time. I had one opportunity and they're going, hey, do you want to take your own towel and go to the no, I was a big fish at that time and I didn't want to go backwards and had to carry my own towel and find a place to shower like they do in the D League. So or G. So it was past me at that time. But we've got a lot of young people that we don't want to close any of those doors when they have an opportunity to earn a living and make a career out of basketball, right? It is a little frustrating for me as a coordinator and all the coordinators when let's say, you know, I have a couple of young women in particular that got taken into the G League this year, that they are just starting to get conference games for us and other things. And I just think they have a lot of growth that way. But they like to take them young. They like to take them with hardly any, you know, bad habits and things like that. So you know, but a lot of them come back to us. And all of them, I think it's 1%. 1% of players make it to the NBA or WNBA, and probably not even 1% in the W. Same thing with officials, 1%.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so you have to decide, you know, so a lot of it's on our officials. I mean, it's nice to be asked and, you know, be in the program and all that, and I get it, and it's great training. I can speak from personal experience. But then you have to decide, you know, at some point, how long am I willing to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, places like that. So, well, that's my soapbox statement for that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good question, Amy. Lisa, I'm sorry, we have one follow-up question if you have time.
Okay, yeah, I got time.
Isis, you have a follow-up question to your previous question.
Wayne, you done put me back on the spot. I thought you was just gonna ask. Lisa, I wanted to follow up on something you touched on, talking about being a great partner. What, as an official and a coordinator, what are some qualities that have stuck out to you?
Well, I'm gonna turn it on you. What do you think makes a great partner?
Right now, my understanding of a great partner, I mean, obviously owning what I'm responsible for throughout the game.
Yeah.
Communicating with my partners on what I have, if it's something that they have that I can, during the free throws or something like that while we're passing, giving them information. But that's all in my 2 years. That's all I have right now.
And I always say referee to your level of experience, right? So if Lisa Mattingly was working with ISIS and we went out on a game, I wouldn't expect ISIS to be able to come in and know what to do with this atypical situation. Or maybe I want ISIS to cover her third. That's what I want. You know, I used to ask people all the time, would you rather have a partner that's a good communicator or a good play caller? Which one?
Mm-hmm.
Which one, Isis?
Right now, I think I would want a communicator just based off of all of my time I've spent with Wayne. I really have learned a lot, so I appreciate that. But
That's
yeah,
fair.
I would say
I used to say that too, and now I want a good play caller. Because in my job now, I'll get you know, the communication is the most of this is my dog Louie. Louie. But people gripe about communication. So it is something we all need to work on. I would just say being a good partner is if I'm the leader on the crew, if I'm a veteran, if I'm, you know, I know more than you do basically, but I don't go treat you that way. You know, I'm going to let you make your mistakes, you know, or I'm going to say, hey, you might want to try this or whatever. And just, you know, on the floor, we got a double whistle. Hey, I'm giving it to you. That's a good partner. Hey, you know, hey, this is a contentious call. We got a double whistle. I'm going to take it. You know, just little things like that, making sure you're making great eye contact out there all the time. Hey, go out of your way for somebody. look, hey, I know you're running late. Can I scoop you up at the airport or at the, I don't know, at the gym, or what? Can I do this for you? Or, hey, I know you probably didn't get lunch because you're running behind at work or whatever. Well, I'm just throwing stuff out at you.
Mhm.
Be the one that people don't go look at their schedule and go, oh, crap, I'll just meet her at the gym. Like, we have that, right, Wayne?
That's true. Yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
do.
And I would suggest, and maybe where you are now, you are going up and down the road. We don't go up and down in the A4. We don't go up and down the road as much together anymore. Everybody's coming into different airports. Some of the biggest lessons I ever learned, and some of the best learning I ever got, was riding up and down or the road in the car with people.
Come
Long
on.
rides, long
Come
rides,
on. Yes.
for sure. And cars and bars. That's where I learned a lot. Always in the car. The bar was after, or meetings or whatever, but just, and that kind of stuff. And just having that, and don't get into the backbiting stuff. Hey, why is, Lisa getting all these games and I'm not? We came in at the same time, or, that kind of stuff. Just like, hey, here's my path, here's what I'm doing, and I'm just going to work to be the best I can, and my chance will come. And that's a good partner to me.
There it is. There it
And
is.
not being afraid to come and get something on the court when you see an obvious foul. Not in my area. I know the video is going to show it's not in my area, but don't stand up there and go, they can it can't be marginal. But the big stuff, and not being afraid to go out on a limb in that kind of way.
How did you give yourself the courage to do that when you were just getting your foot in the door?
I just did it. I didn't know any better. I always tell people, and I was a little too stupid. I would, and I'm that way to today. If I see a foul, I would call it. And then I had officials like Nan Sisk. I don't know who all knows Nan, but I told Nan one time, I said, I was passing on that. And she said, well, you shouldn't have. I never will forget it, because I was a young whippersnapper and I thought I knew everything. And, my poop didn't stink and all that stuff. And, good people telling you honest things, but in a way that they're not trying to do it to cut you down to get something themselves, So you got to have those kind of people that'll hold up a mirror to you. I can remember, I got to be. Sometimes it's about being in the right place, and I got an opportunity to work the Kentucky-Louisville game. I wasn't even in the SEC. One of the guys could not get there because of icy weather, and I got a call, and I got to work with Lois Holmes and June Courteau, which was in our game, and I did not screw up. That was the best thing I could say about that game. I don't remember any of it. I just remember coming and getting this one play in transition, and June looked at me and she said, nobody could get that but you. And I just remember I felt like I was 10 feet tall. So you can't be afraid. Can't be afraid to mess up, because we're going to mess up. Okay. You're going to mess up.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Excellent. Lisa, hey, once again, thank you so much for providing us and blessing us with your time, your energy, your memories.
Oh yeah, Lord, yeah. You all take them down now, because some of them are starting to wane. They're so far in my rear view mirror. But sometimes I'm around some people that I've known for 25 or 30 years, and they'll remind me of stories that I've forgotten. So there's a lot of that, which is it's a good group to be with. So relish those friendships and relationships.
That is very true. There are a few questions that we may not have had time to get to. I'll shoot those to you in an email, and you can respond to them at your leisure.
Okay.
All right. Thank you once again, Lisa. Thank you for being here. Everyone, thank you for joining us on this Sunday. Hey, I know, the season is here.
Yes,
it is here. So let's keep grinding. Let's keep working. Let's keep getting ready for it. All right. All right, Lisa. Thank you. Everyone have a great week.
Y'all have a great season. I hope to see some of you down the road.
There it is. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it.
Bye, y'all.